Upcoming episodes on the Flying Monkey podcast. Country music artist Grant Malloy Smith. 3-time Grammy Award winner Ricky Cage. Actor-musician, the one and only Chris Mulkey. Father's rights advocate Robert Garza. And new episodes of Parent Stories. Go to flyingmonkeypodcast.com and select your favorite social media site to join us. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Rumble. And don't forget to check out our sponsors, Open Darkness and Stop the Abuse. You can find more information at www.hopeanddarkness.info, a common sense solution to parental alienation. Let us help you get your kids back. And www.stoptheabuse.info. It's time for change. Together, we can stop the abuse. You're watching the Flying Monkey Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Flying Monkey Podcast. And we're going to have a guest here today from New Mexico. Felix, how you doing today?
Hi, Tommy. I'm doing great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you, and it's good to have you on. Tell your story a little bit, and we can start from the beginning. So you were married?
Yes, I was married. The marriage only lasted 5 months. Well, 6 months technically, but we lived together maybe 5 months. And it was just another typical case that we see in the group, where there's an abusive parent, and it was really traumatic, the abuse that was inflicted on me, and it was very confusing. But the worst thing out of this is that we have a child out of it now. So a month after we separated, she texted me that she's pregnant, and so I find out early on that she really has no intentions of allowing me in my child's life. So once we divorced before the child was born. And under Colorado law, a father does not have any parental rights when a couple has a child and is unmarried.
Really? So I got a question. So were you guys in New Mexico when the child was conceived, and that's where you were living?
Yes, we were in New Mexico, yes.
And then she took off and went to Colorado.
She was originally from Colorado, and so she moved back, and she what she's doing, she intentionally planned to do it, is how I see it. There was just too many signs. Now that I look back, it was a planned kind of thing for her. She wanted to get pregnant, but she didn't want, I guess, a father in the child's life. The first kind of big clue was when I had all her things packed in a van to move to New Mexico, and she tries headbutting me and tells me she's going to give this 1 year. And I'm like, what? And it just got really confusing from there on out, because the chaos continued, and it was not just about one thing, it was about everything. There was always an issue. It didn't matter if you liked one restaurant, she didn't like it, you had to go to another one. If you liked red, she liked blue. If you liked hot, she liked cold. So it was kind of an intentional, planned pregnancy, I guess, for her, because she was very adamant about getting pregnant, and she was almost reached a stage of desperation for her to get pregnant. The other clue that she wasn't planning on staying is that she never wanted to unpack any of her or a lot of her boxes that she had in the garage. So for 6 months, my garage was full of her items.
That's interesting.
Possession. Yeah, and so and then she was always like creating these dramas, or she was creating drama that where she would have to go home, or she was very depressed, and there was always like something major like going on, and she was always the victim, and I just couldn't take it anymore. So I even from early on, I knew I needed to get out of that marriage, and I was like, how do I get her and her son out of my house now? Her son and I had a great relationship, and I think that kind of made it a little problematic for her, because her son and I cared about each other, and
You
we
bonded.
respected each other, and we had a relationship.
Yeah.
And so that kind of messed up, I think, her plans a little bit. It stressed her out. But turns out I married a pastor from Denver, Colorado, that had a married boyfriend. So when she married me, she actually had a boyfriend, and she would use counseling as a way to try to manipulate me and to make her the victim. And she would strategically pick counselors. Even in that short time, we saw three counselors, and if the first one was in Denver, so when we moved, it made sense not to see that counselor. But um, the first counselor she picked in Albuquerque agreed with me that she was having an emotional relationship with a married man, and so
I mean, you being the married man or
no,
another man?
another married man. She had a married boyfriend.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's a pastor. And when I say that,
She's the pastor, just to clarify, just yeah.
yeah, she's the pastor. She had a boyfriend that was married
Okay.
himself, and there was a one point in, it was kind of toward the end, and this is when I knew I really needed to get out, was when I was cooking dinner, and she came into the kitchen and tried headbutting me twice, and both times she told me it was her fault she couldn't see her married boyfriend. It
Whoa.
was my fault that I couldn't see her married. She couldn't see her married boyfriend, and I
Something
was like,
serious
"Wow,
wrong there.
it's twisted, it's crazy, it's insane." And the drama that these abusers create um, is astonishing. And so now, I've told you a little bit about that, but now she's carrying that on to the child, and that's where the real damage is happening, is when they do this to a child.
Exactly. So now she had relocated or moved back to Colorado
Right.
and she had the baby. And so were you allowed to see the child?
No, she would not respond to my emails asking when the child was going to be born. And I even offered to fly to Denver and take her to her doctor's appointments. And she would never give me an answer. It's kind of like they just want to string you along. And it's just a game they play. And if you're willing to play it, they'll play it all day long. And what that game does is it takes you out of reality, because they don't these abusers, they have an alternative reality. They don't really well, it's not my reality what we were living. I was like, there's something seriously wrong here. She's a pastor. She's There's infidelity. There's this abuse and all this drama, and it's confusing. But when one of my employees, a female employee, uh, gave me the definition of a narcissist, it made complete sense. And I was like, oh, that's what it is. And so once I knew what I was dealing with it made it that much easier to understand, and that confusion kind of goes away, because you keep questioning yourself. Am I going crazy? Because I know I'm not doing what she's saying, but I'm getting blamed. She's freaking out. She's crying and says she's depressed, but I don't know about what. you know?
Yeah, no, exactly. And the other thing is when you live in that situation with someone like that, it's also sociopathic. There's some serious stuff there. But it's like right and wrong is so simple. If
Yeah,
we have a problem, and especially I think for a lot of guys, most guys, it's like, okay, what's wrong? Let's fix it. No problem.
yeah,
I'll work on it. I'll change. I'll do this. Okay, I won't say that anymore. And it's so easy. We just look at it like you just fix it. And
yeah,
so you're sitting there in these situations going, asking someone, hey, can you just not call me that name, or can you not be so mean and rude and nasty when you're talking to me? Or, and they can't do it, or they refuse to do it. And you're like, what's wrong with this? Why is it so hard, for you just to do what's right, or say what's right, or act correctly in normal situations? But it's
yeah,
because what they're doing is intentional. It's like the 10, I forget the name of the movie, but the 10 ways to get rid of you. It's like they just
yeah,
keep dropping these bombs in front of you, until you realize you're not walking through the minefield anymore, and you go away. And it's
yeah,
crazy. It's total
yeah,
insanity.
yeah, and it's nonstop. They have this like chaotic energy that it's relentless. They'll do it like my ex would and like some people ask, well, how does a female abuse a male as you're of your stature, 6'2", 210 pounds. Um, well, like every day I would cook because I do all the I like cooking, so I would cook every day, and every day there was some drama while I was cooking, and she would come in and stir up, stir the pot, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But and then after I would cook, I would come home from work and I'd be tired. My job's physically demanding, but she would want me to wash all the dishes, and I'll tell her, why can't you and your son wash dishes? Oh, he's tired. And I said, well, so am I. I mean, so it's that kind of like nonsensical arguing that goes back and forth about stupid stuff, and then she's always the victim. She was always the victim,
Yeah.
and so it's like insanity. It's crazy. You know what they do that's so clever is that they tell everybody that you're doing to them what they're doing to you, and
Yeah.
so whenever you bring it up, everybody thinks you're crazy.
Yeah. And that's so true. Everything that they accuse you of, because, I've talked to tons and tons of parents, and lived through stuff myself as well. But with the false allegations that these people make, they have no proof. It's all
None.
baloney. The courts look at it like, oh, really? And they don't even, where's the proof? And there's no
Yeah,
proof. But it's crazy. They accuse you of everything that they do.
yeah,
And I mean, it's the most asinine thing I ever seen. You don't realize this is real until you live it. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what's
yeah.
going on?
This is so twisted, and twisted is a nice word
Yeah.
for what these abusers do. It's so twisted that if it wasn't happening to me, I would have a hard time believing it because it is so messed up. What they do, the amount of energy, the inappropriate behavior, the disrespect, the violation of your rights, of your dignity. They just violate your life is the best way to put it. And they're intrusive in your life. Like my ex threw away hundreds of pictures of my grandfather's, my grandfather's pictures that were from the like 1920s, 1930s. Hundreds she threw away. I found
Wow.
a box of my baby pictures in the trash bin outside.
Wow.
When I asked her why they were there, she just kind of laughed, like. And so there was so many clues of all the things she did, and now my son he's 5.5, about there, and now he's having to endure this craziness.
Oh, yeah. And you don't even know. I mean, so you haven't seen your son at all.
In 4 years, I saw him,
Wow.
but well, like um because she left. She did. I didn't attend the birth because she didn't tell me he was going to be born, when he was going to be born. She was going to have a C-section, so she knew when he was going to be born. She sent pictures to my sister telling her he was born. And then so that's how I found out he was born, and that was like a week after he was born. So so he was born on August 11th. So on September 4th of 2019, I flew to Denver to see him. She wouldn't let me see him, and so she made me come back and jump through hoops, and finally I saw him for like 10 minutes, and she told me I wasn't welcome to see him unless I bought an app, like that wizard, that family wizard app. And I told her I'm not going to pay for it because I have a right to see my son. And
Yeah,
so
exactly.
all along she's been treating him as property, and she's using him as a weapon. And so that day, September 4th, I went to human or family services, wherever in Denver you file for paternity, and I filed for paternity, and so he is my son, but that hasn't stopped her from keeping him from me. Even though so I started seeing him 6 months after he was born, because she threatened me that I was not welcome at her house with unannounced, and I told, and even though I text her and email her, she won't respond to email, so she goes silent and just ignores you as if you have no rights. And so 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 after the 6 months, I started seeing him, and she would control the visits 1 to 3 hours a day. So I was driving 14 hours to see him 9 hours or less. Wow. And I was spending $600 every trip. And I wanted to see him every 2 weeks. And I wanted to, I was willing to go and take care of him during the day, but she would not allow me to take him with me anywhere. She would schedule the visits around her mom's availability. And so she was doing all kinds of crazy things to just violate, my role as a father and my right as a father. And so then COVID hit, and then the other really messed up thing she did is she gave our son her ex-husband's last name.
What?
And yeah, she did that. And the judge, believe it or not, well, so I filed for name change. I did a pro se, and the judge agreed with her. And so he has a hyphenated name of her, two of her ex-husbands.
Really?
Yes, and that's what the court does.
That's crazy. I can't believe a court would do that.
Yeah, and the courts are just an extension of that abuse, of that narcissistic abuse that the abusive parents dish out, and the courts no different. They're just as guilty.
Yeah, no, we see that time and time again.
Yeah,
it's insane. So now, have you gone to court for visitation, or for partial custody, or for full custody, or?
We did submit a motion, a 220-page motion to Denver Family Court, and they completely ignored it. And she submitted her response to our motion was a parenting plan. And so in that parenting plan, she wants me to have 2 hours supervised visitations, take communication classes so I can communicate better with her. All the insane things that family court does to keep you from your child or your children. And so what family court asked me, or was trying to ascertain, is that how much money I had, and they wanted to know how much I can afford each month to pay for their billable hours. So what they do is they make you fill out, or they wanted me to do is to fill out a form and put all my expenses and assets, and then what could I convert to cash. And that's when I said, I'm the target here. They're going to come after everything I own. Yeah. And because that's what family court does. And so I refused to fill out that form. I did not show up for the following hearing, and I filed a federal lawsuit because in that first hearing in family court, I asserted my 14th Amendment right, and the judge placed a condition on me to prove my financial worthiness. And
interesting. Can I stop you there for a quick second? Because I think there's a lot of parents that are going through this who have not, they've heard of that or they may have read of that after the fact, but asserting your 14th Amendment right, can you like kind of reiterate a little bit or expand on that a little bit and say like why you did that and when you do that,
sure.
when it's important to do it?
Yeah, it's important to do it, in my opinion, the first time you go into court, because into state court and family court, because the 14th, we have a natural right to raise our children under the 14th Amendment, right? And it's been upheld by the North Carolina Supreme Court, and that was just very recent in 2023. And it's also a First Amendment violation when they keep a child from you, and the Supreme Court has ruled on that, stating that a parent-child relationship is protected under the First Amendment by association. So we have a right to speak to our children. Our children have a right to speak to us. And family court and abusive parents like my ex are violating our civil rights and our children's civil rights.
How did you do that? You just said, Judge, I want to invoke my 14th Amendment rights, or how did you state that in court?
Well, it was really interesting when I thought there was going to be more communication on what was happening, but the judge just came in, said who was present, ignored us, and she just started talking to my ex-wife about her parenting plan. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I have a 220-page motion. That's what this hearing should be about. So I asked the judge, are we talking about my motion or her parenting plan? And the judge just said, your plan, and just ignored me and continued talking to my ex. So I was like, oh shit. I thought I had some hope that the court had some integrity and was there to do their job, but they weren't, because family court's an administrative branch. They're not a legal entity, and they're there to serve as an administrative branch, not to keep our children from us. But that's what they're doing. They're keeping our children from us.
Exactly. They are. So when you implemented your 14th Amendment rights in the court, when
she completely ignored me, and I was like, oh shit, I'm the target. and then when she wanted to know how much I made, I told her I didn't know. But and I just knew there was like no way I was going to sign anything anymore, and so that's why I filed the lawsuit, because what they're doing is very wrong. They're not just keeping your children from you, but they're also trying to steal your money by having billable hours, and it's not just the court. It's everybody around the court. The attorneys walk you right into it. Like I spoke to a good 15 attorneys or firms. Some were free, some were paid, some were partial payments, and I even spoke to some retired judges, and they all just wanted me to go down the rabbit hole. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me that they're saying it's the best interest of the child, but I as a parent have a right, and children need two parents because they're born attached to, with a connection to two parents, a father and a mother, and I wanted to raise my son, and I'm like, damn it, I have a right to raise my son, and I'm not going to let the family court or my ex-wife keep me from my son, even though I've missed out on 5.5 years so far. But my son needs a fighting chance. And what my ex-wife and what family court is doing is putting my child and every other child they keep from a parent at every risk or every disadvantage of life, from learning, from health, from being in prison, from drugs, from
suicide,
having healthy relationships, from
unemployment. Yeah, all of it.
unemployment, learning, depression. So they're destroying children's lives. And family court wants to sugarcoat it. There is no sugarcoating destroying a child's life.
No, they're not. And on
There's
top
a,
of it, they're destroying the parent's life that they're going after, that they've targeted, that they're calling the bad person. So it's, yeah, I mean, every story's, if not exactly the same, it's so close to the, we all have little maybe differences in each story that of people that I interview and parents that I talk to. It's just, it's all the same over and over and over again. And like you said, if you hurt the children, you're destroying society. You hurt the family, you're destroying society. So they're the next generation. And the reason we have so many more divorces and so many more situations like this is because this has been going on for 50, 60 years.
50 years, yeah. Yeah.
And, it just gets worse as it goes.
And in my opinion, it's by design, because these attorneys, state officials, they're not this stupid. They know what they're doing. And
you'd be surprised. I mean, some of these people are just doing what they're told, or that they learned this is the way to do things and they actually do it. I mean, because, once in a while, I'll see a happy story and I'll see a parent say, "Hey, I got full custody today," or "Hey, I actually got 50-50 today." And you're like, "Whoa, that's amazing." But
yeah.
sometimes it's the child grew up, and it's just been taught to hate and reject, and it's not going to change the situation whatsoever. I mean, I know one parent, I interviewed him. He was saying, "I need to see my daughter. She's hiding her daughter. We need to protect my daughter." Blah, blah, blah. The court kept ignoring him, ignoring him, ignoring him. And then he had a hearing coming up in a couple of weeks. And a few days before, the mom disappeared with the daughter into another country that doesn't have anything to do with The Hague, or isn't going to send the kid back. And and then the judge came back later and said, "Oh, 2 days later, oh, she's gone. Well, let's put an arrest warrant out for her now, and you get full custody." Well, that's just the most obnoxious thing I've ever heard. I mean, and that's what they do.
Yeah, that's what they do. They do everything backwards. And just to finish up with where my lawsuit is, it's we're waiting for a determination from the judge. And the interesting thing about this is that the state, it's not only the family court that violates your law, it's the states, because the states have written codes and statutes that violate the U.S. Constitution.
The federal, yeah.
And then what's interesting enough is that then they bring in the attorney general to defend them. And so the attorney general was arguing that my civil rights should be denied. The attorney general was arguing that my civil rights be denied. And they take an oath to support, defend, and honor the U.S. Constitution. Correct. It's a complete contradiction. But you know what? This contradiction that exists with family court and the abusers and the state, it's the same. There's so much contradiction, and it's usually the opposite of what they should be doing.
Exactly. So you said you had a lawsuit. So you're suing the family court for denying your rights?
I'm suing the governor because of their presumption of custody law violates my civil rights. And that's what it has enabled my son's mother to keep the child from me, because right now she has 100% custody. I have 0. And I'm suing family court and the judge and my ex-wife. I'm suing all 4 of them under a federal lawsuit for violation of civil rights under the 14th Amendment. And if we need to, the First Amendment.
I hope you win, because things need to change, and that would set a precedent for a lot of other parents and families that are going through this as well.
Yeah.
It's just totally crazy.
What's really amazing is that how we as the public have accepted all these codes and statutes that violate our civil rights. And we think when I tell people my story, especially women, for some reason get angry when I tell my story. And because they think that what I'm doing is taking the child away from the mom. But what they don't understand is learning theory, that both parents that a child has an attachment to both parents from birth, and it lasts a lifetime. And when you take one out of the picture, you're damaging that child.
Yeah, it's the attachment system. So,
Yes.
a child is attached to both parents. And so when
Right.
you take that away, you've damaged their attachment system for life. And honestly, that's the worst kind of abuse you can do to a human
Right.
being, is destroy their attachment system. And society is set up as well. It's changed since we were created as the human species, and the evolution that we've lived through to get to where we are now, which is millions of years. Modern societies changed that, and they attack our attachment system in so many different ways we don't realize. And that screws us up as humans. And
Yeah.
sometimes you wonder, why are we like this, or why are they like this, or why does this person do that? And it's because they've been messed with and growing up with, and the statistics show too. I mean, mom and dad are both very important, and this happens to mothers and this happens to fathers. And I
Right.
always the point of that so everyone understands. But the statistics show when you have a father out of the life of a child, it puts them at every statistical risk that exists.
Exists. Yeah. And I used to think it was strictly a male issue, but
No,
being part of Hope in Darkness has showed me that it's equal.
yeah, it's happening to moms and dads. It started with the dads, and and they've been doing that for 50 years. But now there's moms. So it's just, the data that after my interviews and all the stories I've read and the thousands of things I've seen posted and stuff, the data is showing that, the protective, positive, good, loving, caring parent that wants 50-50, that wants to be in the child's life, have both parents in the child's life, they're the good guys, and they're the ones that are being kept out. And the dysfunctional or abusive and not the most not fit parent is the one that seems to be getting the custody. So,
Yeah, because
it's crazy.
yeah, because it keeps the conflict going in family court, and that's where they get their billable hours.
Well, Felix, I really, really, really want to thank you for coming on today. And so when we hear back on your lawsuit, I'd love to have you back on again and we can get an update.
Sounds good.
That'd
Thank
be
you for
great.
having
So,
me, Tommy.
yeah, no, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you again very soon. You
Great.
take
Thank
care
you.
and good luck.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching the Flying Monkey podcast. Like, follow, and subscribe to our social media sites on Facebook, X, YouTube, Rumble, TikTok, and Truth Social. You can also go straight to our webpage at www.flyingmonkeypodcast.com.
Have you been victimized by family court? Are you suffering parental alienation? It's child abuse, and it's domestic violence by proxy. Are you stuck drowning in legal and mental health bills? Get off the treadmill, escape the trap. With over 10 years of research, thousands of parent interviews and case studies worldwide, we have developed a system that works to help you get your kids back. Join the movement now. HopeInDarkness.info, StopTheAbuse.info, AlienationAcademy.com, and TheFlyingMonkeyPodcast.com. It's time for change, and it's time to stop the abuse.